and had just a wonderful childhood. Simple life, but I think one of the things I got out of that childhood was just a deep rooting and a sense of belonging that has really helped me as I've moved and done different things with my life. This was the time when we had an Indian woman prime minister. But everywhere I looked, when I looked at business establishments, the one thing I would see on the door is Business X and Sons. And as a young kid, that really bothered me. And I said to my parents, why doesn't it say Business X and Kids? But nobody could ever answer that question for me. So one of the things that sort of I took for myself was that it's important to chart your own course, to not have people's perspectives determine what you are going to do with your life. I was a complete news junkie, and I continue to be one. The BBC, I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but the BBC was something that kept me company actually most evenings. I just loved the news. And through that, and through what my parents gave us, I had a global perspective and a global view. And one of the things and one of the decisions I made very early in my life was that I was going to go out of a very comfortable life and go to a place where I was going to stand independently and make a name for myself, where nobody knew me or my family. And I decided to go to the US to go to business school. And one of the things I was extremely fortunate about was to work at an organization and in an industry that was dynamic, that expanded my horizons, that gave me a level of self-confidence and belief that I would never have imagined had I not taken that step. That getting outside your comfort zone is something all of us get told, but living through it and really seeing the benefits for yourself from that, it's something that sort of I talk about a lot. I was in New York in banking for many years, and the organization I joined then, Morgan Stanley, interestingly, is still the place I'm at, 24 years later. Many years later, I was asked, as Morgan Stanley was thinking about exiting a joint venture in India, whether again I would go outside my comfort zone and come here to reestablish our business here. And again, I said yes. And this was the time when there were lots of other changes happening in my life. I had just gotten married, and literally within a period of 3 years, I would have had 3 kids under 2, because my younger 2 kids are identical twin boys. So 3 boys under 2. So I went from being single and happy to being married with 3 kids under 2 and still happy, but overwhelmed in so many different ways. And everybody around me was telling me, Aisha, this is the time to take some time off. You've spent so much time on your career. This is the time to take time off and focus on your life. And again, to my core, I felt that there should be a way to pull this together. It was not going to be perfect. It was not going to be without compromise. But it was something that was going to work for me. And that was ultimately the barometer upon which I was going to look at this. And, through incredible networks, both personally and professionally, through a deep sense of wanting to make it work, I cannot tell you the importance of that part of it. There were lots of times I had self-doubt as to whether I was making the right choice. I absolutely loved being a mom, and I absolutely loved my career. And I wanted to find a way to see whether there's a way to, keep both going. And one of the things that, as I reflect on my journey, where I think I could have done better, is focus on myself. Even the title of today's discussion is balancing work and balancing family. It does not talk about you in this whole equation. And I think that part of it, which is we are critically important in this whole equation, but as we are laden with guilt, as we're trying to make everything else work, sometimes we let ourselves not be the priority that we should be. So I feel it's one of the things that I think women and our foreparents and our grandparents and of generations have learned to deal with, is to juggle. We know how to build relationships. We know how to move things forward. We know how to connect to people. And as we become more senior within our organizations, those are the skills that are absolutely critical for success. How do you build a team? How do you get the organization to grow? How do you build networks? How do you build allegiances? This comes naturally to us. And I think what we need to do as women is we need to stop and not have as much self-doubt. There were times when work will become a priority, and there are times when our kids need to become a priority, and there are some times where we need to be a priority. And my view is this is clearly something that we're all learning, and it's a continuum. There's no easy answer. I think personal, professional, family networks, marrying the right guy, I think is absolutely critical to getting this done. If that's what you want to do. I got married late, and I was extremely happy being single, so it's not necessarily the thing you have to do, but if that's something you want to do, then that's something that, choosing your right partner, I think is very important, because you need a supportive partner to get this through. So, I know there are, lots of people who've done different things. My equation has always been, just being happy with what I'm doing. Making sure that I just get exposed to people, love to connect with clients, take relationships forward, take ownership, always look to grow, always look to learn. And as my kids grow, they're 10 and 8 now, the needs that they're going to have are going to be different than when they were sort of 1 and 2. So.